Neha, hi, welcome to her story.
Thank you so much, Santosh. What a pleasure to be here and really excited for this conversation.
So am I. So you have fallen in love with table tennis. You have committed a significant part of your life towards that sport, worked hard, and earned yourself the coveted opportunity to represent India at the 2008 Olympics. What was it like?
I think for me, the Olympics was, of course, one of the greatest honors of my life so far. I was only 18 when I represented India. I was very lucky that my father put me into table tennis coaching, and that's how my journey started. And really, along the way, I never thought that I would play for India someday or I would represent India at the Olympics. But as things got started getting serious, I started getting better, started winning, at the international level, became India number one. That's when it really started to sink in that okay, Olympics is something which we should start aiming at. I remember in the 2004, it was the national championships, and I was 14 at that time. And Moma Das in 2004 played for India at the Athens Olympics. And immediately after that was the national championship, and I lost a very close match against Moma. And my one of my cousin brother, he actually said, "Wow, Neha, you almost beat an Olympian. You're right there." And 4 years later, I was at the Olympics, and for me, the qualifying bit was actually a big deal. I would say it was a bittersweet experience, the experience of the Olympics. Of course, I was at the opening ceremony and wearing a sari. Colonel Rajavardhan Singh Rathore was a flag bearer. And when you at the Parade of Nations, you walk it was a bird's nest stadium. And as you're taking that walk, right, all you could see is flashes of camera lights, but what's going in your mind is that all those years of hard work and sacrifice, yeah, that just keeps coming. And I pinched myself twice that I had made it. So for me it was a huge honor. I said it was bittersweet because I lost in the first round against an Australian, from a Chinese Australian, and I'd beaten her 2 months back at the World Championship. So I was actually very excited about my draw. I said, okay, great start. No other woman had gone past the first round at the Olympics. So I said, okay, I'm here to, do better. But when I stepped on the court, right, I was not prepared. I was so tensed. My hands were shivering, right? It was table tennis happening in China. It's similar to cricket happening in India. And for me, the pressure is something that I was unable to handle. So it was a decent game. I was there, but I could not convert. I still remember that feeling. It was so sad because that here it is, right? Once for me, playing the Olympics came once in my lifetime, right? I had the opportunity, but I was not prepared to handle pressure, and I lost on that opportunity against somebody whom I knew I could beat. So while going to the Olympics was an honor, and qualifying at 18, one of the youngest Olympians, but I think it was the ending was not the way I sort of wanted it to be.
Yeah, I the stage is different. There's way too much pressure. You're carrying the entire load of the country, you feel, right, when you're there.
Absolutely. Suddenly, I mean, at back then, nobody really cared about the sport of table tennis. Suddenly, there's a lot of media attention. You're being spoken about. Young athlete, we should be able to prepare our athletes to handle all these things as well. Which, in general, now the awareness has risen, and we're able to do that. But back then, for me, everything was very new, and to balance all of it was a big challenge.
So, is the mental strength improving with time? Are you seeing that?
I think for sure. I think it is really more than mental strength. I think it is a factor of how better prepared we are. And how are we better prepared if, as an athlete, I know that in training, I have put in my 100%, and it has been done with the right resources and the right team in the right way. It should be done at a world class level. I think back then, we were not the best prepared. I know that I was not training at a level where, against versus what it was happening in China, in major table tennis playing countries, Japan, Korea. We were not training at that level. The coaching expertise was not there, the fitness levels were not there, injury management was not there. Of course, sports psychology was not there back then. So I think now Indian athletes, through various interventions, of course the government has done a brilliant job. I think the last two Olympic cycles were one of the best in terms of, I think, the resources and the support that has been given to the Olympic athletes. Organizations like ourselves at OGQ and many others, now the athletes have the resources and the team behind them to train well. And when you have that team, right, and when you know that you have prepared best, that belief automatically will come. Yeah, it's similar to doing really good, coaching before your exams, right? And you lace it, right? So it's similar at what happens during the match. Lot of things change, there are a lot of moving parts, and at that time, mental resilience, mental preparedness, what you said, is something which comes out, and again is a factor of what have has your past experiences been and how it has shaped you. I think still a lot of work needs to be done on the mental front. Still, we need to be able to handle pressure at the highest level, but I think we've come a long way. The support which was back then and till now, there is a world of a difference. And now Indian athletes, when they go to any tournament, when they step on the court, they go there to win. Back then I went there to participate. Yeah, today athletes are going there to win. I think that is the biggest change that has also happened in Indian sport.
Fabulous. You are the chief of partnerships at OGQ. Tell us more about your work at OGQ, please.
Sure. We are a not for profit foundation. It was founded by two of our sports legends, Geet Sethi and Prakash Padukone, with a very sharp mission, which was to help Indian athletes win Olympic gold medals. We also started supporting para athletes in 2019 and added Paralympics to our mission as well. And what we want to do is to ensure that all the training needs of our athletes are met in the back end, right? We want to ensure that the mistakes that happen during our careers is not repeated for the next generation, and they are the best prepared. So we are able to support athletes with various aspects such as coaching, Indian or foreign coaches, best training facilities in India or abroad, equipment. We have a sports science team of some of India's best physios, nutritionists, fitness trainers. There are psychologists. We have a panel of doctors who all look after our athletes and ensure that the training is happening at the highest level. We work very closely with the government on all these aspects because these are all elite Indian athletes who are preparing right for the highest level. So work has to always happen in a collaborative environment. We currently support 410 athletes in 9 Olympic sports, Paralympic sports as well. And out of these 410 athletes, 100 are para athletes preparing for the Paralympics, and rest are, of course, for the Olympics. In the very happy to share that in the last 4 Olympics, India has won a total of 21 medals, and the training of 13 of those 21 medal winners was supported by OGQ. At the Paralympics in Paris, India won a total of 29 medals, and that was the highest medal tally ever, right? What a proud moment for India. And the training of 25 of those 29 medal winners was supported by OGQ.
Yeah, 25 out of 29 and 13 out of 21. How do you go about finding these superstars?
We have a research team that is, so the research team is tracking athletes at various levels, right? So under 12, under 14, under 17, under 19 levels, in district level, state level, national level tournaments. So two ways. One is objectively, we look at the data, the scores, improvement in rankings, things like that. In sports like archery and shooting, very objective parameters are there because you have your scores. But in sports like boxing and wrestling and badminton, you have to look at various other levels as well. So we look at objective data. We also look at the softer aspects, right? There are our sports experts are there given their inputs on the talent, the hunger, the fire, the ability to work for excellence, right? We don't want to support athletes who are just happy, say, winning national championships, right? We want to support athletes at the highest level. So the sports experts also given their advice, and then it's together we make the decision to then support athletes. I think it's a very stringent process to intake the athletes, and the reason is that once we have an athlete onboarded, the journey to support them is a long term journey. Yeah, Olympic medals are not won overnight. Yeah, it takes years and years of constant effort, and we want to put that effort. There are ups and downs in an athlete's journey, and you need to support the athletes, especially when they are sick or they're injured. Yeah, at that time they have to be supported the most. So careers, there are highs and lows, and we want to support the athletes at best levels, even at their lowest. So there is a stringent monitoring process as well. We do a biannual performance review, and if there is any athlete that we've given full support and is still not performing at the mutually agreed levels, we have to then take the hard call to even weed them out of the program. But overall, I think research is critical for us for intake of these athletes, because also we are a not for profit. The athletes we support, we have to be super careful on whom we are supporting to give them the best training facilities and at the highest level.
Usually we bifurcate the country in tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 locations. Do you see that the athlete, the quality, the hunger differs in terms of the locations?
I think it differs from tier one cities to tier two, tier three, and the rural areas. I travel the length and the breadth of the country. We see that the fire in the belly is actually there in the kid in the rural area. Yeah, sport is hard, right? You have to be there day in day out. You have to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, irrespective of whatever happened the previous night. You won or you lost, you have to show up next morning, right? And you have to train. I think that hunger and that fire is missing in the city kids. Also, for them, education is probably a safer option to pursue. The kid in the rural area will do anything, will run through a brick wall to train at the level that the coaches ask them to train. So many Indian athletes, you will also see, they don't come from elite families, right? They come from really humble backgrounds. Also, India does really well in supporting athletes in terms of providing jobs. The public sector has been so wonderfully amazing. Services, petroleum, railways, postal, and so many of them are giving employment to athletes and full-time jobs, right? And they play for their institutes. Once they retire, they can be absorbed into the mainstream workforce, and then these athletes become the highest bread earners of their families. And to me, that is a huge impact, right? They may, with education, they may or may not from where they come from, but when they make it here in sport, they get these as well. And you automatically elevate your the level of your family as well economically. So a lot is it that sport gives back also for these athletes. Yeah.
Yeah, hence the hunger to get out of their present situation is much higher with the people who need to get out of it. In terms of para athletes, you mentioned 29 medals for the country. What has changed in terms of the support system that they receive?
Yeah. Yeah. In two Rio Paralympics, yeah, India won only 4 medals. From there, in Tokyo Paralympics, which was conducted in 2021 due to the pandemic, India won a total of 19 medals. And in Paris, we went up to 29 medals. These are, we're talking about really difference and elevation in the number of medals that you're winning. And all this cannot happen if there isn't a strong support system for our para athletes. I think until 2016, our para athletes were not given any support at all. Also around that time, the movement of inclusion began. We said that we have to support our Olympic athletes and para athletes at the same level. I think a lot of support came in from the government side. Organization like ours, we stepped in as well. There are other organizations who are also working on supporting para athletes. So the ecosystem for an athlete in India, which was there at the for the Olympic level, was missing at the Paralympic level, and we were able to supplement them. That think about things like wheelchairs. Yeah, simple things like wheelchairs. A wheelchair costs anywhere between and these are all customized, right? For para athletes, it costs anywhere between 4 to 5 lakhs. Yeah. Now again, these athletes never had the sort of funding to procure those, right? You need to have prosthetics at the highest of the best quality, all customized, right? Once even these basic thing for a para athlete was, we were able to fulfill that. And of course, with the right coaching, with the right fitness levels, yeah, we were able to support and give them the sort of training which was missing at to train at the highest level. So I think it has been a wonderful collaborative effort of the entire ecosystem to also support para athletes, and which was missing until say 2018-19.
Usually, how do they discover the potential in them? Because compared to a mainstream sports person, things would be very different for a para athlete, correct? So, from the very beginning, how do they get a chance to identify that they are good at a certain sport, say badminton, for example?
Yeah, yeah. It's a great question because this is actually the biggest challenge. Why? Because awareness of paras, it's not there as much for a person with disability to enter into parasport. Of course, at this stage, there are no set pathways. So many of them are, say, they get disabled either through an injury or an accident. So it could even be that they may start parasport later in life, yeah, or they were born with some sort of disability. So that's a big challenge we also face, that not many people with disability come and play parasport. But those who are able to and get the opportunity and get a chance, right, the right support systems are now there for it. So say for example, in India, para badminton and para athletics are two sports where we have maximum participation. Also, the nature of the sport is such that awareness is there and access to the sport is there. But with para athletes, just the awareness that, hey, if you're having a disability but you can still pursue a para sport, that is still, I think, missing in India, and we need to massively improve on that.
So, there has to be a lot of awareness around this from bottom up, maybe at a school level, that this is possible, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we spoke about different tiers, different section, hunger, etc. Every sport has a certain cost associated to it, correct? Sports are not necessarily evenly priced for everybody and affordable. So how does that bring in that impact the talent pool, and is there any way we can kind of bridge that gap?
See, I think sport is surely expensive now. I remember when I was playing, one side of the rubber on the racket, right? There's a red and a black side. At that time, one rubber used to cost between 700 to 1,000 rupees, and you change it every tournament. Now the same rubber is costing close to 4,000 to 5,000 rupees. And when you're playing an intense match, you may change two, three rubbers within a tournament also if you're reaching the finals. The wood, the ply itself, back then it would cost anywhere between 4 to 5,000 rupees. Today, that same ply is costing anywhere between 15 to 20,000 rupees, right? And you need to have two, three rackets as backups as well. And just this is just the equipment cost that I'm talking about. And then you need a whole team behind you, right, to work with coaches, physiotherapy, mental trainers, strength and conditioning coaches. So yes, sport is expensive, But I think at various levels now there are support systems for athletes. Yeah, the of course the government is now investing a lot in the right ways as well at various levels, at the grassroots, intermediate and elite level, to support athletes. There are many private organizations as well who have come up and have their own programs to extend support to athletes. So I feel India's improving massively in this regard. It is a collaborative effort. Change is happening. Yeah. And we now need to capitalize and make use of these opportunities and start winning at a consistent level at the Olympics and Paralympics.
Yeah, yeah. Winning attracts more talent for sure. That we have seen in cricket. But there are also efforts to popularize other sports like ultimate table tennis. So how are you seeing? Is there a possible shift that might happen? Is it possible to balance our other sports apart from cricket in this country?
Well, cricket has now entered into the Olympics as well. It's going to be in LA 2028. I think I think we should not compare. Yeah, I think in fact we should learn from what cricket was able to do. Of course, the federation is run at such a professional level and was able to monetize, right, the sport really well. And eventually it grew and to levels now we are now seeing it. I think other sports need to learn from that. Yeah, rather than comparing ourselves, it is a learning opportunity, in my opinion. The more we see sports on television, the more we are getting to see our athletes not just say at the Olympic Games or the Asians at the Commonwealth Games, but also televise world championships, other tournaments as well. Sport will definitely grow. I think it's a whole cycle, right? Take the example of badminton. Back in 2008 and 9, when Saina and Sindhu were upcoming, of course, Saina Nehwal, was the path breaker for Indian badminton. There were only close to 30-35 badminton courts in the city of Hyderabad, similar numbers in Bangalore. Today, there are over 7,000 badminton courts in Bangalore city alone. Yeah, and this is only because of two path-breaking trailblazer women, Saina Nehwal and PV Sindhu. Yeah, their success has given the popularity of badminton. Today, you go and see the number of badminton courts, corporates, having badminton courts, corporate level tournaments happening, right? In school, kids are playing. So there is a change and there is a shift. I think when we start winning consistently, the trickle down effect of having role models, of playing a sport and seeing success in it will happen. Leagues like Ultimate Table Tennis has been a game changer for the sport, because say when UTT started, Indian athletes got the opportunity to live, train for say 20-25 days with some of the best players in the world. And all of them, I unfortunately could not play the league because I retired just a year before when the league started. And the athletes tell me that that experience that they got of being with the elite, some of the best in the world, that was something which has changed them. Yeah, and in the league they were able to rub shoulders with them. You win matches, right? And when you get the opportunity to play so many matches and you're winning against them, it automatically gives you the strength and the belief. Yeah, so as an athlete, leagues are so important in India, right? Because we're able to get the best talent from across the globe to come into our country for us to play along with them, and then for the audience to watch. Yeah, it has popularized the sport of table tennis in India. People were not even aware that table tennis is a professional sport. It was somehow always seen as a basement sport where you're just chilling time pass sport, right? But when people saw what is the level of table tennis through UTT that came in, it also changed perception. And you can see the improvement of Indian table tennis since UTT came in. Yeah, in we had five players in top 100 in the world. We've consistently now winning at the Commonwealth Games, Asian Games level. We've had participation top 30 in the world, right? So All these are various things that are needed in an ecosystem of a sport in a country to overall grow the sport in that country.
Yes, it's a step in the right direction for sure. And it also gives opportunity for you to identify budding talent as well.
For sure, because there were so many young athletes who were part of these teams, and they are again having the experience to be around some of the best players in the world. So those young kids, right, your youth under 19, 20 year olds, they also got that opportunity and exposure at that age.
Yeah. So you've pursued sports, and then you actually went ahead and did your masters in sports management as well. What is sports management for the interest of people who are not aware of sports management?
Yeah. So, see, it is obviously a few things, right? One is the business of sport. How do you bring in money in sport? I think that is something all sports administrators are sort of figuring out. Athlete management, right? What are the various ways in which support to an athlete has to be given? And there are various verticals within sports management and in the sports industry where you need professionals and folks with the right skill set. So it could be media, broadcasting, social media, athlete management, events, managing events, conducting events, operations of leagues, running leagues, bringing in talent management, endorsements, bringing in more commercials for the athletes. Then there's another thing which is just pure focus on performance aspect of sports. So high performance managers, sports scientists, physiotherapists, nutritionists, bringing all these folks in the ecosystem and setting that up for athletes. I think the sports industry in India in the last 5 to 7 years has started maturing. And you need to have all the various skill sets, right? You need to know your finance, you need to know accounting, you need to know media, you need to know television, and all of it in the context of sport. Yeah, so that is sports management. And I think it's a great time to also be an administrator in Indian sport, because as more investment is coming in, as many more events are coming in India, aspiration to win and potentially host the Olympics is coming in, and thus many more. There is a need for many more such professionals to run various sports organization, how corporates are run, right? Similarly, sports organizations also have to be run that way, so that are we are managing the whole ecosystem well.
So it is not necessarily a degree for somebody who has played a sport. Anybody who is interested in sports and sports management can.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, see, it was a good transition into the management side of things in sport. When you're an athlete, you're just being an athlete, right? You're laser sharp focus. You don't think about other things. And you should not also, because your full focus is on being an athlete. But for me, that transition was needed. I went to Columbia University in New York, where you learn from my professors were all working in the industry. You see real time case studies, challenges that are happening. It's not theoretical. You don't have to learn from the books. It's all learning from real case studies and trends in the industry. So for me, it was a good transition. But there were so many other my classmates who were not athletes. They were passionate about sport, and if they learn sport from this sort of lens, obviously then your chances of getting employment in any sports organization and having that aptitude increases when you do such degrees.
When speaking about Paralympics, you mentioned about inclusion and the conscious effort to include them. Hence, even if you look at your athletes, you have 400 plus and you have got 100 plus in Paralympics. It's a good ratio. Now, coming to inclusion when it comes to women, because you were a representative of India in 2008, and now, how have you seen that landscape for women change in Olympics?
Yeah, yeah. I think from a participation perspective, definitely there's been a huge rise. The Paris Olympics was the first Olympics which was gender neutral. So, equal number of participation of men and women. And I thought that was path breaking. At OGQ, when we select athletes, we don't look at economic status or gender or where they come from. We look at pure talent. And I'm so happy to share that now 40% of our athletes are actually women. And this is only because of pure talent. Also in India, it happens so that some of our biggest names have been women athletes. Yeah, MC Mary Kom, Mirabai Chanu, PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal, PT Usha, Manju Bobby George, Vinesh Fogart, right? These have all become role models and have really inspired the next generation. I am a huge believer of girls playing sport. My life changed because I played sport, and the four walls of the classroom does not teach the things that sport teaches. Leadership, working in a team setting, discipline, hard work. How do I balance success and defeat? How do I pull myself out from defeat and come back to the court again and train? The ability to handle success and be grounded and to reach the top, but also to maintain yourself and be there at that level. All these things, when a lot of people in the corporates are now, when these are the qualities they look from. And I always say hire athletes, and more so are women, because our girls need to be exposed to these. They need to be learning these skills at an early age for them to then see success. I think not everyone needs to, maybe not everyone can reach the Olympics and win medals at the Olympics. But if you're an athlete and you have that experience, you've played at a certain level, all these lessons, they shape character. And when women really get on the field, they become role models in their own communities and inspire the next generation. So support women, give your girls chance to play sport, and that will be, we are such a young country, right? And it will be a game changer for our nation when our girls are having just these qualities which sport can definitely give.
So at OGQ, I feel you're not only supporting sport, you're creating legends of sort, right? And some of them would outlive themselves in terms of their stories and achievements, and keep on inspiring people. What is the next for OGQ?
Well, I think we have a long way to go. India won 6 medals at the Paris Olympics. 4 of them were supported by us. There were 6 athletes who finished fourth. And really, the difference between finishing fourth and winning an Olympic medal is very minute. Mirabai Chanu lost the bronze by a kilo. Lakshya Sen was leading 8-2 in the third. And we have to work on these one percenters that really make the difference and is the biggest differentiator between participation and winning medals. So we have a long way to go. India still needs to, like I said, consistently win medals. We should come into the top 20 in the world over the next 3 Olympics. And we are very determined to give whatever support our athletes need in order to make that happen. The Sports Authority of India, the top scheme, I think the intent from some of the best, some of the top bureaucrats there in the ministry is so good right now. It's a very good, I would say, ecosystem right now to be an athlete in India. And with the right support, I think we can really achieve much more. India probably underperformed at Paris. I think for LA, we should not be saying that. We need to win medals, and we need to win medals in double digits. And if we can start doing that consistently, is what our aim and objectives are over the next couple of Olympic cycles.
Whatever you said, it was music, and I know for sure that we will do really well in our next Olympics. This conversation has been fabulous, but I'm going to throw in some rapid fire questions just to throw you a bit off guard. But it's going to be in your of expertise. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Backhand smash or forehand top spin?
Forehand topspin, always. And in
First
fact,
biggest.
forehand smash. Actually, I had a very good smash. I used to turn and hit a lot. So I'll change a bit, not topspin, but smash.
Your toughest opponent you've ever faced at the table?
There is this player, her name is Elisabetta Samara from Romania, left hander, and she's like actually my age. And I just feel I was just not able, match her in terms of her speed, in terms of the on the bounce attack that she used to do. And I had never beaten her. She's still playing and still at a very good level. For me, it is Elisabetta Samara.
I hope you're friends off court. Uh, one quality every athlete must have.
You're making it tough by saying one, but if I have to choose, I think it is to train smart. I think we always talk about hard work, discipline, hunger, but somehow athletes, I still don't see them being very smart in terms of managing their calendar and knowing when to, knowing the recovery, right, eating the right things. So for me it will be train smart, which will sum all the things that I just said, which is still I think we have much more scope to.
Train smart. If not table tennis, then what?
I'm actually not sure, and I don't even want to imagine a life without being an athlete. I started playing sport when I was 4. I started with the sport of skating, then table tennis at 7. I don't think I have an answer because my life has been sport always, and now after retirement, it's been on the other side, and I live, breathe sport and for Indian sports. So yeah, this is what it is.
Okay, fair enough. If you were to have dinner with one sports person, past or present, who would that be?
Roger Federer.
Wow. Your cheat day food,
It has to be pasta.
pasta.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I remember the first time I had pasta was in 2006 somewhere in Germany. We were playing a tournament and they put that on our table and I was like, wow, what is this? And since then it's become the cheat thing for me.
Love at first bite, as they say. Smash, spin, or block. How do you deal with life?
I think for me, it has always been smash because sport has taught us so much as athletes to really deal with adversity and make strong comebacks. Yeah, and for me, whatever happens now, I always go back to my experience. I had a huge low period for about 3.5 years, and I was not in the Indian team for good 2 years, and it was my lowest ever. And I was what young 20 21 year old, and I was able to make that comeback. And whenever life throws challenges, I always go back to that experience and have been then able to sort of, when you make a comeback and then you smash things and go all out. I think for me that's always the mantra in life.
Fabulous. That's the end of the rapid fire question. This was fun. And Neha, your love for the sport, your love for the country really came out in this conversation. And may you keep smashing your way towards success forever. Thank you so much for being part of this.
No, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing this, and it was such a wonderful conversation.